More than 2,000 years before drones, motors, and batteries, an ancient Greek mathematician was said to have built a wooden bird that flew. Not a mythological creature, not a god, a machine, a body made of wood, a motion created by hidden air, and a story strange enough to survive for more than 2,000 years. But here is the real question. Could Archytas' dove actually work? The answer depends on what we mean by fly. Because the deeper we look, the less this story feels like magic, and the more it becomes a physics problem. The man behind the legend was Archytas of Tarentum, a mathematician, a philosopher, a political leader, and one of the most important scientific minds of the ancient Greek world. He lived in a culture where mathematics was not just numbers on a page. Geometry described the structure of reality, music was ratio, motion was proportion, and a machine was not just wood and bronze. A machine was geometry becoming physical. That matters because the wooden dove is not only a story about flight, it is a story about relationships. Weight against force, pressure against distance, airflow against drag, balance against instability. According to a later ancient source, the dove was made of wood, balanced by weights, and moved by a hidden current of air. That is all we really have. No original blueprint survived. No physical machine has been found. No ancient engineering manual explains exactly how it worked. So this video is not about proving that the first robot definitely flew in ancient Greece. It is about asking something more careful. If the story is based on a real device, what kind of device could it have been? To understand why Archytas matters, we need to begin with one of the most famous mathematical problems of the ancient world: doubling the cube. Imagine a cube with side length a. Its volume is written as v equals a cubed. Now suppose we want a new cube with exactly twice that volume. Not twice as tall, not twice as wide, twice the volume. So the new side length x must satisfy this. X cubed equals 2 times the original volume, and that means x equals a times the cube root of 2. Today that formula looks simple, but in the ancient world it was a deep geometric problem, because doubling a cube is not the same as doubling a line. If you double the side length, the volume becomes 8 times larger. So the real challenge was to find the correct relationship between lengths, a hidden proportion, a precise transformation. Archytas was famous for thinking in this way, through ratios, curves, intersections, and continuous proportions. One way to express the idea is a relates to x as x relates to y as y relates to 2a. That chain of proportion is not just decoration. It shows a way of thinking where geometry becomes a mechanism. And that is exactly the kind of thinking we need for the wooden dove. Because if the dove moved, it was not because it wanted to fly. It moved because forces were arranged in the right relationship. The ancient source gives us 3 clues: wood, weights, and hidden air. Each one matters. Wood tells us the body could be light but fragile. Weights tell us balance was part of the design. And hidden air tells us the motion may have come from pressure. This is where the legend becomes engineering. A jet works by pushing mass backward. Air moves one way, the body is pushed the other way. In modern physics, thrust can be described by a formula. The thrust force equals the mass flow rate times the exhaust velocity, plus a pressure term at the nozzle. In simpler words, how much air leaves the body, how fast it leaves, and how strongly the pressure at the opening differs from the surrounding air. Archytas did not write this formula, but the principle is what matters. If air or vapor escapes backward through a small opening, the machine receives a push forward. That means an air-powered wooden dove is not pure fantasy, at least not as a moving device. But movement is not the same as free flight, and this is the key distinction. To fly freely, the machine must defeat weight. Weight is mass times gravity. The heavier the body, the greater the force pulling it down. So if the dove had too much wood, too many weights, or too large an internal chamber, it would lose before it even began. Then there is drag. Drag is the resistance of air, and drag grows with the square of speed. That means going twice as fast does not create twice the drag. It creates roughly 4 times the drag. So if the dove moved quickly, air resistance would become a serious problem. And then there is lift. Lift depends on air density, speed, wing shape, and wing area. A real flying machine needs enough lift to counter weight, but it also needs stability. If the center of mass is too far forward, it pitches down. If it is too far back, it becomes unstable. If the wings are shaped badly, they do not create useful lift. If the thrust is too weak, the machine falls. If the pressure is too high, the chamber may fail. This is why the most dramatic version of the story is also the least believable. A fully free-flying wooden bird would need propulsion, lift, balance, and control all at once, without sensors, without motors, without a flight computer, without modern materials. But there is another possibility, a more realistic one. What if Archytas' dove did not fly freely? What if it moved along a wire, a rail, or some hidden guide? Now the problem changes. The machine no longer needs to solve the full physics of flight. It only needs enough force to move along a constrained path. The guide controls the direction. The weights help stabilize the body. The hidden air creates the push, and the wings create the illusion of life. In simplified modern terms, the motion along a sloped guide can be described as a balance. Mass times acceleration equals thrust forward minus drag backward minus the part of gravity pulling along the slope. That equation is not saying the device was easy to build. It was not. It is saying the guided version is much more plausible than true free flight. Because now we are not imagining an ancient drone. We are imagining something closer to a mechanical demonstration. A wooden automaton, a pressure-powered performance, a carefully balanced object that moved through space and looked alive. That would still be extraordinary. Think about what an audience in the ancient world might have seen. A carved wooden bird sits still. Someone releases a mechanism. A hidden chamber opens. Air escapes. The body moves. The wings shift. The bird glides along a path that is hard to see. For a moment, it looks as if wood has become life. And maybe that is why the story survived. Not because it was a perfect aircraft, but because it crossed a boundary between object and creature, between mathematics and motion, between craft and illusion. So was Archytas' dove the first robot? In the modern sense, probably not. It had no sensors, no computation, no autonomous decision-making. It could not observe the world and adapt. But as an automaton, as a machine designed to imitate life through hidden mechanics, it belongs to the deep prehistory of robotics. Because robotics did not begin with silicon, it began with a question. Can a human idea move by itself? Can geometry become action? Can matter imitate life? The wooden dove sits at the edge of that question. Part history, part legend, part physics experiment. Maybe Archytas did not build the first drone. Maybe he built something stranger, a machine that made people wonder whether motion itself could be engineered. And that may be the real beginning of robotics. Not intelligence, not autonomy, not metal humanoids, but the moment someone looked at wood, air, and mathematics and asked, can this actually move? Would you call Archytas' dove a robot, a toy, or the first engineering prototype of flight? More stories on Robeality.